Welcome to College Algebra Trig, Semester 1, Final Exam Review, Part 4. Number 17 says, find two real solutions of the equation 3x to the 4th power minus 2x to the 3rd power plus 26x squared minus 18x minus 9 equals 0. So the first thing I have to do is identify what are even possible zeros, and we do that by taking the factors of the constant, that's a number without a variable, and dividing it by the factors of the leading coefficient, which is the number in front of the highest exponent on a variable. So, and you always put positive and negative in front of those. So my options are plus or minus my factors of 9, which are, I can get 9 by doing 1 times 9 or 3 times 3, but I do not need to write the 3 twice, okay, over the factors of the leading coefficient. The factors of 3 are only 1 and 3. Now, please watch me. There's two things I have to do here. I have to take everything up top and divide it by 1. Okay, and when I do that, remember everything's positive or negative. Plus or minus, 1 divided by 1 is 1. 9 divided by 1 is 9. 3 divided by 1 is 3. Then I'm going to do the same thing, but instead of dividing through by a 3 or by a 1, I'm now going to divide through by a 3. Okay? And I'll go back and color code these so you can see it. 1 divided by 3 gives me 1/3. 9 divided by 3 gives me 3, which I'm going to cross out because I already have it there. And 3 divided by 3 gives me 1. Again, I'll cross that out as well because those were already options. So these came from when I divided through by 3. And then if we go back, these came from when I divided through by 1. Okay? So how do I figure out which one of these, if any of them work? You plug them in. So if I let this equation say, let's say we just said let it be f of x, because it didn't label it, this whole equation. I can plug in a number from this list and see what the outcome is. If the outcome is 0, it's a factor, or it's a solution, I should say. So let's try f of 1, because that seems nice and easy to me. So wherever there's an x, I'm just replacing it with 1. This will be the only time I'm going to write this out. Okay, this function notation, I'm pretty sure you're pretty familiar with it at this point. So I'm just plugging 1 in wherever there's an x. And when I plug this in my calculator, which I'm doing at the moment, 3 times 1 to the 4th power, and so on, you end up getting 0. So is it a factor? Yes. So down here on the right hand side, I'm just going to keep track. For sure, x equals 1. Okay? Now, this is helpful to me because I can do synthetic division. Okay? And all you're going to do is take these leading coefficient numbers and use those. So 3, -2, 26, -18, and -9. If you're confused on synthetic division, pay attention. Here comes the explanation. You always bring down the first number. Any number that's down on this row gets multiplied by the number in the box up left. So 1 times 3 is 3, and you write it in the next row, and then you add. And you do the same thing. So now it's going to be 1 times 1 is 1, 26 plus 1 is 27. 1 times 27 is 27. -18 plus 27 is 9. 1 times 9 is 9. When I add them, I get 0. Why is this helpful to me? These are now the coefficients of my new polynomial, which happens to be 3x, and the original degree was 4. So I'm going to go 1 degree less. 3x to the 3rd plus x squared plus 27x plus 9. Let's call this g of x. I am going to erase some of this, so if you need to write it down, please pause and do so. Okay, so let's look at this. I've got my new polynomial g of x. I can still use my original list of factors left up top. But notice here everything is positive, and you're trying to find one that gives you 0. So if I plug in a positive, it's just going to get bigger and bigger. So all my positives are out. Okay? And we know 1 is out as well. So I have to try -1, -9, -3, and -1/3. So I'm going to plug in, this time g. So let's try g of -1. So when I type this in my calculator, I'm replacing any x I see with a negative 1. So 3 times negative 1 to the third, okay, plus parentheses negative 1 squared. Remember, a negative number to a power always has to be put in parentheses. And when you do this, it gives you negative 20. So again, all I did was I replaced every x with this number here, the negative 1. That doesn't work. I'm going to try it again, but this time with g of not 9, but negative 9, because I need it to be 0. Positives definitely won't work. And when I plug in negative 9, I get negative 2,340. Well, that didn't work. Now I got to try g of negative 3. When I plug that in, I got negative 144. That didn't work. This is going to be ugly, but I'm going to have to try g of negative 1/3. And when I plug that in my calculator, sure enough, I get a 0. So this is now my second x value. And that is how you find two real x values of a polynomial.